Welcome to Where the Soul Speaks with Gemma, a space for the conversations many women carry silently. Here we explore love, emotions, and the deeper patterns that shape our lives. A place to pause, reflect, and reconnect. Because when the soul speaks, the truth gently finds its way to the surface. Welcome to Where the Soul Speaks with Gemma. Today, I'm joined by Angela Rodwell. Thank you for joining me today.
You're very welcome.
Angela is a life coach and she's also CBT informed, and she'll be bringing a lot to the table today. So we're going to start today by talking about a topic that me and you often talk about, which is self-love. Yes, you knew it before I said it.
Absolutely.
So I wonder, what has your journey been regarding self-love?
So I think the journey to self-love is not one that I could put just down to one thing. There's lots and lots and lots of things that have happened along the way.
Yeah.
However, the one thing that I can bring to mind is reading a book called The Introvert Advantage, which I would highly recommend.
The Introvert Advantage.
The Introvert Advantage. And it was a book that I read at a time where I really thought I was, my belief about myself was that I was boring. I wasn't very socially adept. I didn't have very much to say. I didn't like parties. I just thought I just didn't have much belief in myself. And I read this book and it really resonated with me because it described introverts, and it was exactly me. And it wasn't saying that I was socially I wasn't adept socially. It wasn't saying that I was boring or shy. It was saying you're just an introvert, and you get much, much more from being in small groups of people than you do from being at large parties. Invite me to a large party and I'm really, really uncomfortable. Invite me to a social gathering, dinner with about 3 or 4 friends, more than happy. So that really made me realize that I wasn't what I thought I was. I was able to define myself as an introvert as opposed to boring and dull.
Yeah.
And then I was able to understand, I was more able to understand introverts and how they work in the world. And then it really allowed me to accept who I am. And once you accept who you are, once you're able to take that on board, then you can really live to your strengths as opposed to feeling all these things about yourself that are not true. So that would have been my journey.
Yeah.
Or part of my journey. That was a very, very strong part of my journey.
So it sounds like from understanding yourself, you're then able to accept yourself.
Yeah, accept, and then go on to really like myself and kind of think, well, actually, I'm okay. I'm good. So Gemma, what about you? I'd be really interested to hear what your journey to self-love.
I think my journey to self-love was seeing actually the times that I would put myself last and the times I would disregard myself and push my needs away. And I think I did it so many times that it caused me such an amount of pain over time that I realized something had to break. And from that breaking was when I began to then start the journey of learning to love myself.
But what was it that allowed you to see those times?
To see the times that I was disregarding.
Yeah. Yes.
I think it was over a period of time I began to feel this numbness, this disassociation with life, like I was here and I wasn't here. So I think I kept wanting to pull myself back into this world, but it was like I wasn't here. And then I guess, and I talk about this often, ayahuasca was when I was able to see what was going on, and all of the times that I was disregarding myself was resulting in this numbness.
Okay, so, and what was the ayahuasca process?
So, do you know about ayahuasca?
Not enough.
Okay, so ayahuasca is like 2 vines that are put together, originating from Peru, I believe. And these 2 vines, taken individually, they wouldn't produce much of an effect. But when these 2 vines are mixed together, it basically allows you to see a lot of truths about your life and messages to come down and truths to be revealed that otherwise might not ever be revealed. So I took ayahuasca in 2021, I believe. And that was when basically a lot of veils got lifted and I began to see the truth of my existence and basically the truth of the fact that I've been lying to myself, that everything was okay.
So you were feeling numb in life, and then you made the decision to go for to go to ayahuasca for ayahuasca?
To go for an ayahuasca ceremony.
Right. Okay.
And I wasn't necessarily taking it because I knew that I was numb. I was taking it because I knew that I was lying to myself about things, but I didn't know what I was lying to myself about.
Okay. And was that able to open that up?
Yes. Yeah. For me, when I took the ayahuasca, very quickly, truths became revealed about my life and the things I was running away from. So it definitely wasn't like, oh, you take the medicine and then everything's cured. It's like you take the medicine and you see the truth, and then there's pretty much no going back. Because once you see the truth, I mean, you have a choice. You carry on living a lie, or do you face the reality?
Yeah.
These truths that have been revealed.
So what made you take that journey? Because I mean, a lot of people would possibly have seen the truth and wouldn't have had the strength or the, I don't know what the word is, to then go. They might have looked at the truth and said, oh well, I'm there might have been fear in there, so they would have just stayed where they were.
I think it gets to a point where it's living a lie becomes so painful that you kind of begin to know that you're postponing something or you're postponing the inevitable. So for me, I did try for a while to continue as things were, but it was just getting more and more suffocating. So I knew that I had to do something radical and make the changes that needed to be made.
And was that, how difficult was that?
Oh, it was really, really, really difficult. Like, we're talking as difficult, I think, as it gets. Like almost feeling like I felt it was impossible at the time. But I think the alternative would have been, I didn't think I could continue as things were. So it's either I face a huge amount of pain now, or I might not even be here to face that pain. So it was, I think it gets to that point. It got to that point for me.
But it had to get to that point.
It had to get to that point, yeah.
And what was the journey there? So how did that lead to self-love?
Oh, well, I think a lot of the things that had led me to being quite unhappy were the fact that I was choosing everyone else's needs above my own because of, I think, social conditioning, the stories that women have been told from generation to generation.
Stories like
please the man. Stories like once you become a mother, to be a good mother, you need to forget yourself for 18 years. Those kind of stories.
Okay.
And to put your own needs first is selfish. These are kind of some of the stories I feel have been passed down, whether consciously or unconsciously. But I think, like, regardless of the stories, we can only learn from what we see. So if we see lots of women around us who are self-sacrificing and who are putting their own needs last, then that's kind of what we internalize. And if people are also praising that behavior, like, oh, wow, they're such a selfless person. Oh, wow, their children are their world.
She's such a great mum.
She's such a great mum. And all of these stories and what we're seeing, then that's what becomes the conditioning that's deeply ingrained.
Keeps you there.
And to take another road would be very guilt-inducing.
Yeah, and presumably a bit lonely as well, because as you said, the majority of people follow the just follow the sheep, don't they? They just follow the path that's well trodden. And to go outside of that is a bit, it could be seen as being, well, what's she doing? She's doing something different.
Was that something that you relate to when you were a mum? Well, you are still a mum, but when you were with a younger child?
I think it's something that I relate to, and I think you and I have spoken about this. I think I relate to that, maybe not just as a mum, but just as a person in general, because there is a certain social conditioning to do things as per the instruction, as per everybody else does it. And I don't necessarily think that's the best way to do it. And I think that's when self-love comes in, because you kind of think, well, actually, I like myself enough to know that I can make this decision and follow this decision. And I don't really care what they think about me. It's actually not my business what they think about me. What I think about me is my business. So I think that's where self-love comes in and gives you the courage to do things that are outside of the box, which, what would be your experience on that one?
In terms of not caring what other people think.
Yeah, because so what you said was, you could have followed the social norm, you could have continued, you could have continued your life as it was, but you could see that you were becoming numb, so you made decisions that were very difficult. So I'm assuming that you're maybe living your life slightly differently to other mums around you in your community.
Yeah, I think the big thing that I did was obviously separating from my partner at the time, the children's father. And I think that had a lot of disapproval from people in the community, and also a lot of friends and a lot of family. And I think because it was a decision that brought about so much disapproval and so many people being unhappy with my decision, quite triggered by my decision, that it was like this mass disappointment in me and this mass, how it felt
from them.
And I think because I'd really disappointed people from my actions, I kind of like, okay, I've done the most disappointing thing I can do and people are not happy with me. So I've almost liberated myself. So, okay, if I can handle this, then why don't I just live life as I want? Because those who are meant to stay with me will
stay, yeah.
And you kind of see it in that way, that those who are meant to leave will leave and those who are meant to stay will stay.
And was it liberating?
At the time, but now it is.
Okay.
Yeah, at the time it was quite painful because I think, oh, well, why can't people still accept and love me for the decision that I've made? But then you have to realize that everyone has their own social conditions and their own beliefs about what's good and what's bad. And some people don't have the capacity to see beyond black and white. And that's not a judgment. It's just I have compassion and empathy for them.
Yeah.
I don't have any resentment. But I think in the beginning, I was a little bit disappointed.
But that sounds as if not only are you dealing with your own change of decision and the implications on your life, which were huge, but you're also having to deal with other people's reactions, which is, as I've said, is none of your business. But if you're not at that point already, I mean, if you're already in a really difficult situation, then you are looking for other people to support you. And if you're not getting that support, in fact, if you're almost getting the opposite, that must be really tough.
I think that's why you feel very grateful when you have a couple of people who do believe and support you. Because I said this before, like if you can have one or two people who believe in you when you're making very tough decisions, that's all you need to get you through sometimes.
Okay.
And I had that, and I had a couple of, mainly an older friend who was on a spiritual journey, quite a deep spiritual journey. And she kept saying to me, I believe in you, you've made a brave decision. And she could see the bigger picture. And that was all I needed. And she didn't think I was crazy.
So, and what did you do with the people that did think you were crazy, or how did you deal with them?
In the beginning, I tried to explain, to justify, but I think my justifications were falling on deaf ears because some people don't really have the capacity to understand, or they're not listening with their heart, they're listening with their mind. And when you listen with your heart, there's a different energy to just listening with the mind, because you're looking to try to compute the information and integrate it.
Yeah. But they're also listening from a place of fear, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely from fear.
Yeah,
definitely.
And you were going at it from love, but love for yourself as well as for your family, of course.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so how do you feel about so you said that you were feeling numb and you've gone on this journey, for want of a better word. How do you feel now?
About the journey?
How do you feel?
In my day-to-day life?
Yeah, so...
Feel free.
Okay.
Right now, I feel like I have a life of freedom that I've had to create for myself, because I'm a big believer that we all imprison ourselves, not physically, but mentally. Every day we can box ourselves into certain limitations. And I think the biggest journey for each of us is to get ourselves out of prison. Poet William Blake, he always said about when he would walk around London, he would see these manacles, he called them, that people imprison themselves. And he called them the mind-forged manacles.
Yeah.
And I remember that was something that I really resonated with when I read that, about how we mentally imprison ourselves.
So we're talking beliefs here, aren't we?
So, yeah. So I think a lot of it is learning to release ourselves from these prisons we put ourselves in.
And how do you, like, my observation of people is that a lot of people aren't even aware that their mind is... How do you help people to become aware of what it is that's imprisoning themselves? Or...
Well, I think awareness is key. So from having coaching conversations, or through counseling, or anything that we could talk of as therapeutic, whether that be yoga, breath work, looking at the areas in your life where you don't have freedom. And that could be realizing the stories that you tell yourself. It could even be as simple as you go into the same coffee shop every day because you told yourself stories about what could possibly happen at the other coffee shops.
Yeah.
It's really being honest with yourself and being able to look at your life and look at areas where you're not free in.
Or happy in, presumably.
Yes. Or happy, content, free, however you want to, whatever word you want to choose. So I think consciousness and awareness of those areas. But maybe you want to add to that. What do you think the path to freedom can look like? And the path to realizing where we're not free, how can we uncover that?
I think the path to freedom for me personally is just about understanding yourself. I'm going to go back to and liking yourself. As soon as you're able to say, I like me, and as much as I don't discount the other people around about me, I do on a level discount their opinion of me, because I'm going to go back to it again, it's not my business. And if I get caught up, I can't do it. I can't make you like me. I can't make a man like me. I can't make anyone like me. I can't. So all I can do is make me like me.
Yeah.
And if I like me, then whatever I do in my life, I don't really, it just, I'm comfortable with it. I'm content with it. I might make mistakes along the way, but I'm okay, because I can kind of go, well, you made a mistake there. Whereas if you don't like yourself, I think you give yourself an awful lot more. You're just so much tougher on yourself, and often you're apportioning blame outside of yourself rather than taking it on. Like, this is what I'm doing. It's he did it to me, or she did it to me, or they did it to me, and it's always got to be internal. That would be my take on that one.
So have you always liked yourself? Or when would you say was the moment where you noticed you started talking more kindly to yourself?
Well, having read that book, that was The Introvert Advantage, was definitely a changing point. But also, I interestingly went from being a single mum to going back to work. And that wasn't a decision that I particularly wanted to make. I really enjoyed being a stay-at-home mum. But it was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me, because I was around amongst people again, and I was having conversations like this, and I was thinking, oh, this is really interesting, and people are stimulating your thought processes, and also there was a realization that my clients that I was working with were all of a very similar type, and you kind of think, you and I talk a lot about how our energy attracts the energy back, and I was thinking, well, I'm surrounded by all these lovely people, so I must have quite a nice energy. So I think that was huge for me as well, and also really just deciding what I wanted in life and deciding to resonate on that energy. I wanted to be surrounded by female friends who we brought each other up as opposed to bringing each other down. And I am surrounded by a group of women who are great champions of one another, and I'm a great champion of them. And so there was a few different things. It wasn't just a light, a light switch was turned and everything changed. It was just a slow progression and a learning and becoming aware of yourself and changing as you learn new things. Yeah. Did
you ever have a strong inner critic?
Oh, absolutely. My critic was horrible. My critic told me I was dull and boring and I couldn't speak to people, and I'd been told from a very early age that I was shy, and I probably am still quite shy. But I also have the ability to get people to talk for some strange reason, and people
not so strange.
Oh, not so strange, of course. But no, I had a horrible inner critic, and I think that's a thing that you probably go through. My observation is that a lot of people have a very horrible inner critic up until a certain point when they probably mature a bit and then they start to look at themselves. And you can equate that to like brain development and life development and everything. So I think most people have a pretty tough inner critic. How about you?
Yeah, I've had a very tough inner critic. Over the years, but definitely that inner critic, I've really learned to turn the volume down, and just being so conscious and aware of when that voice comes in. Oh, that's not me. That's not me. That's a voice coming in, recognizing it, and then reframing it.
So you said that you have an inner critic and you turn it down. How do you turn it down?
Becoming aware of it.
Okay.
I turn it down by being aware. Okay, that's my inner critic, or that's not my voice. That's the voice that I heard, growing up.
Yeah,
that's not me.
Okay.
And then just that awareness can sometimes be enough to bring it down.
Yeah.
Okay. But then the reframe, being kind to myself, like when you make a mistake, oh, that was so silly. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, I said the best words that I could say in that moment with the awareness that I had, and that's more than enough. I think a big reason why I went on the journey of loving myself was when I became a mum, because I realized that you can say things to children like, to love yourself, but then if you're looking in the mirror and you're being critical of yourself, and that's what your children see, and they see a mother who's not being kind to herself, then that's what they're going to pick up. So that really made me up my game, because I wanted to embody self-love and not just talk about self-love. So I would say having children was a real turning point for me, because otherwise that same cycle of self-hatred
just
repeats itself. Can I ask you, like, with your clients, what kind of themes do you see around either beliefs or self-love?
Well, I think your beliefs dictate whether you self-love.
Beliefs dictate
your self-love.
The self-love.
Yeah.
The beliefs that you have about yourself.
Yeah, your inner critic.
Okay.
So there's lots of different words you use to describe your beliefs. You've got your core beliefs, your limiting beliefs, your inner critic, the voice in your head. But it all comes down to the story you tell yourself. So the story I told myself was that I was dull and boring. So guess what I saw in my life? I was dull and boring. I didn't go to parties. I was dull and boring. I wasn't able to converse the way that other people conversed, therefore I was dull and boring. But actually, what I wasn't looking at in that picture was I was a way of traveling the world. I wasn't dull and boring, but I was only focusing, my brain was very cleverly showing me all the evidence that I was dull and boring. And had I continued with that belief, I would continue to think I was dull and boring, and I wouldn't love myself. Absolutely not. So I think if you when you can uncover, so we asked about clients, the teams, so generally everything comes down to what the person's belief is, because that's normally what's stopping them from getting to where they want to get to. So if you're able to help them uncover that belief, then you can get them to start to challenge that. And a lot of that challenge is through action. So you're not going to change a belief, oh, I'm dull and boring. I didn't change that overnight. I changed that through reading books. I changed it through changing my life. So, but it was all action based. And then I got to a point where you're kind of thinking, oh, I quite like myself now. Oh no, I'm okay. So there's definitely action is needed in there to move them forward.
I resonate with like having this belief about ourselves that we then have to unlearn and reframe or slowly dismantle. I think for me, a belief that I had about myself was I'm not good enough. That was, so guess what? I was looking for evidence of, okay, where can I see that I'm not good enough? So I was looking at people's reactions when I was speaking to, oh, I haven't said the right thing because I'm not good enough. Oh, this person's unhappy because I'm not good enough. Everything was through the lens of
I'm not good enough.
Good enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, that belief is what we then see in our world.
And how do you feel about yourself when you're not good enough?
You feel like you need to prove your worth.
Do you love yourself?
You definitely don't love yourself. Yeah.
The beliefs are monumental to any work, I think, that you do with clients. I'm sure you experience exactly the same thing, that they'll be, the stories that we tell ourselves can dictate whether you're successful or not successful.
Yes. And then going even deeper, like getting clients to choose for themselves what is success for you. Because I feel that a lot of us, we are looking at the story of success that we've been sold, and then we've sometimes strived to hit this model of success that society told us would make us happy, and then we've realized that we're not happy. So it's really like, for me, a lot of the work I do with clients is defining success on your own terms.
On your terms, yeah. And I think a client that I recently started working with is having exactly that battle, where she is living in an area where success is defined by how big your car is, how big your house is, whether your school kids go to private school, blah blah blah, your holidays, da da da. And that doesn't resonate with her values at all. She's been brought up in a small town where, you wore your walking boots and your walking trousers, and you weren't fashionable. You just wore functional clothes. And she's really struggling to come to terms with living in that society but having different values. So yes, I think that's you have to but it's tough to define. I think it can be tough to go outside the box of success when you're living
in the Western
world.
Yeah. And how do you define success for yourself?
Happiness.
And what is that?
Liking yourself.
Yeah.
For me, it all comes down to liking yourself.
So if you like yourself, that is success.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
Because when I like myself, I make decisions that are right for me and obviously for my family but it's difficult to explain what liking yourself feels like, except that it just feels right. It's what we're all here to do. We're all here to love ourselves, actually. So,
what does loving yourself feel like to you? Like, if you had to explain it, if you had to box it up and pass it over to someone, what does it feel like in your body or in your heart or as a lived experience?
it just feels feels like smiling from the inside out at all times. That's what it feels like. Even when you maybe get sent something that you're not too sure about, you're kind of thinking, okay, this is going to work out. I'm not sure how it's going to work out, but it's going to work out because everything always works out. So it's having that inner love that allows you to outer love. But it does feel, I feel as if I'm smiling from my heart out all the time. When I say all the time, but even in the things that are, you know, maybe challenging me, I'm still feeling that I'm happy.
Yeah.
But what about you though? What does it feel like for you?
Success.
Because you're in a different situation from me in terms of you're still an active mother, whereas my child is grown up.
Yeah. Well, there's two things that I would define as success to me, and one is freedom.
What is freedom?
Well, freedom when it comes to the mind and feeling free mentally. And that means talking to myself kindly and not limiting myself mentally. But also presence. So how present can I be with my children?
Okay.
I define success as freedom and presence.
Presence, okay.
They're the two things that for me, if I can have had a day where I was like 100% present with my son during a 30-minute conversation, that is so...
That makes you feel what?
It makes me feel like a success because I was able to be with someone I love fully and give them my time on a deep level, and that makes me feel so nourished and happy.
And why does that make you feel nourished and happy?
Because I think nowadays it's so difficult to be present. I think we live in a world when we're quite addicted in different ways to different kinds of dopamine. And I think presence is one of the rarest gifts, to be fully present with another. It's really rare. We can have conversations, but I'm talking about this real deep presence that you can feel.
Explain that one to me a bit more, because I'm not sure I'm understanding the presence.
So when someone is fully present with you and they're listening to every word you say, they're not just listening with the mind, they're listening with their heart, listening with their soul.
Okay.
You can really feel that.
So they're connecting
On a deep level.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think when you're a parent, or just when you've got a job, when you're living life, it's easy to have all of these conversations and transactions, but were you actually conscious or were you just unconscious? And I think we can all fall into the trap. In every moment, we can fall into the trap of being unconscious. But can we keep coming back to consciousness? Can we keep coming back to presence? So that's, for me, what I do deem as success.
I'm just thinking, because obviously you and I are both based in Cambodia and it's a very different society here.
Yes.
And we don't have, I know from from conversations that your kids don't have iPads and TVs and things like this. So there's not a distraction there. So I wonder how much more challenging it is in the UK, for instance, where I brought up my daughter, because it was, as a single parent, it was very easy to just hand her an iPad. I got some time off and she had a dopamine fix.
And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, you know. It depends on the circumstance that we're in. I remember when my great grandma passed away and I had to go back to the UK for a funeral with my son, and I'm trying to help with writing the eulogy for her funeral. And what did I do? I gave him the phone because it just meant I could have a moment to think. So there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But it's just, guess the bigger picture for me is every time we have the technology in front of us, what is it being used for? And it can be a real distraction sometimes, and it can just be used to fill a void. And it's almost, what do I want to set my children up for?
Yeah.
Does that resonate? And if I was in the UK or in the Western world, yes, it would probably be slightly or maybe a lot more challenging because you've got everybody using, not everybody, but a lot of people in mainstream society giving their children iPads. And of course, there's some benefits too.
Yeah.
There's some educational tools, but I'm really not sure what a positive impact it is in the long run.
But it also sounds as if it's not, that wouldn't be a positive impact on you because one of your judges of your success is presence with your children. So if you're giving them an iPad, then that's not success for you.
Yes, but
you know, I don't mean that you're not giving them an iPad. Well, they're not having iPads over here, but you know, but you could give them iPads, but you would still have to have some time built in there that where you would have presence with them.
Definitely.
So tell me this, what sort of because we're talking about beliefs, and we both are aware that beliefs are just stories that we tell ourselves, and just as you can tell yourself one story, you can also tell yourself another story and look for evidence for that. But how would you work with a client who's got, for instance, you said you had a limiting belief of I'm not good enough. So how would you, if you had a client who comes in, and that's a very common belief, how would you work with that?
I think we would look at definitely where these stories came from and when they began to become formed. So how are these beliefs formed, and try to understand what their relationship was like with their caregivers, because that can often be in our caregivers do often determine, I believe, the beliefs that we have about ourselves. I don't know how you feel about that, but I do feel that that's
absolutely, and it's not generally 99.9% of the time it's not done with any
no malice. We're not blaming.
Absolutely, yeah. There's no blame, there's no judgment. It's just that's how they've been brought up. Therefore, that's how they've learned to bring up.
Looking at what they internalized from their parents.
What's the benefit of doing that then?
I feel that by exploring it, I feel that there's a deeper understanding of the fact that it wasn't inherently within them.
Okay. So it came from outside them as opposed to they weren't born with it.
Yeah, because when we're a baby, we don't have that story that we're not good enough.
Yeah.
It's something that begins to slowly come into our being through what we pick up from our environment.
Yeah.
So I do like to explore that with clients using person-centered therapy. But then we can also do some inner child work where we go back to different versions, like maybe our 8-year-old self and our 6-year-old self, and be that adult that your younger version of yourself needed. So maybe like looking across the room to your 8-year-old self and giving that 8-year-old version a lot of love and compassion for the stories that she believed about herself. So that's some of the stuff.
And what does that do then?
It collapses time and space because all versions of you exist within you. So it can be very healing. And you can, through doing that work, you can then do that work with yourself. Say you're at the gym and you start noticing this kind of nagging. It might not even be an inner critic, but it might just be something that's coming into your consciousness that you're saying about yourself. And then you can really be aware and give yourself compassion in that moment. And that inner child work can be the foundation of that. Does that make sense?
It's the foundation for being compassionate with yourself thereafter. Okay.
A tool that you can use. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how does it progress from there?
After we do the inner child work, I think we then look at their day-to-day life now and noticing times when that voice is most prevalent or when those beliefs come up most, and then bringing awareness and looking at how we want to work with those beliefs when they arise, different techniques we can use, whether that be walking away, breathing for a moment, working with some affirmations.
Okay.
And just looking at what would kindness look to ourselves in those moments. Yeah. What is this bringing up for you as I share this?
I mean, I think it's really interesting because with cognitive behavioral therapy, you tend not to go. So you're person-centered and I'm cognitive behavioral therapy centered. And so we don't tend to go into that sort of background. Yes, you would maybe ask the client to figure out where did this come from. And I think that, as you said, I think that's very useful for them to understand that it's not inherently part of them. But we would probably go much more from
this moment onwards.
Yeah, rather than going backwards. But I can see the benefit of both. And I think different people will resonate with different styles.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. There's a lot of clients that really don't want to go backwards. Or they don't, I wouldn't say backwards, but they don't want to go back to childhood. And for those clients, it's going to be better for them to work with someone like you rather than someone like me, because you're going to take them to the places that they really want to go, and I might be taking them to places
that they don't want to go.
And both are okay.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, if you can walk away from a session with awareness and tools, then and ways forward, then that is fantastic, and more freedom ultimately.
The awareness is just, I remember somebody saying to me in some form of training over the many years, awareness is like putting a spotlight onto something. And you just, once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. You can choose what to do about it or not do about it, but you can't unsee it. So awareness is, I mean, everybody says it's a cliche, it's part of it's the start of the journey, but it really is. If you can't see it, then it's a bit like a road. If you can't see the road, how do you drive down it?
But do you feel like some of our neural pathways, as Joe Dispenza would say, like they've wired and fired together so many times, there's sometimes I think awareness is all it takes to make the change, but sometimes those patterns can go so deep that awareness is great, but the client still can't make the change.
Absolutely.
And that is actually quite tricky. So how do we as coaches deal with and help clients when they know the change they want to make, they have the awareness that what they're doing is more harmful than helpful, and even maybe self-sabotaging? And how do we help them to shift? And I think that is something that I'd love to get your thoughts on.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I think there's a lot of almost explaining what you've said, is that you've got a pathway there that has developed, and it's so ingrained now that you're just automatically going it. It's just habitual now. And for them to understand that, actually to come out of that is going to be tough.
Definitely.
But they have a choice.
Yeah.
So they can either stay in that, and it goes back to what you were saying about you had once you had the ayahuasca experience, you could then choose what you did with that. You could either choose to go through the discomfort and the challenge that you did go through, or you could have chosen to stay where you were, which probably in the short term would have been much less uncomfortable, but long term were more uncomfortable. So everything comes down to choice. For me personally. And sometimes people are not ready to make that choice for whatever reason, and there's no judgment in there. It's just a case of, well, maybe as a coach, all you can do is help them to see that and help them to understand that, but you can't, they're maybe just not ready to make that
leap
move. But what's your take on it? Because I don't know your take on that one.
For them, I would kind of walk through the scenario of, okay, so they know the change they want to make and they've committed to making that change, but let's say in a few sessions that they've been really struggling to make that change, probably walking them through mentally and even doing a visualization of what that other road could look like, and then looking together at what structures we can put in place to help them give them the highest chance of success in this new path, and then looking at how we can kind of co-create together to give them the highest chance of success.
So you're giving them a vision of of how their future could be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. And holding them accountable to the different things that could help them to be as successful as possible in taking that new path.
Yeah. But it still will come down to a choice.
It still comes, because you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And that's true for all of us, right?
Absolutely. But I think the accountability thing is huge.
Yes.
And having someone there as it doesn't have to be a coach. Not everybody is going to employ a coach.
Exactly.
But even having a friend there who you say to, I'm going to have, I have a weekly call with a friend of mine, and she tells me what she's doing in her week, and I tell her what I'm planning to do in my week. And that call keeps us both accountable. And we both, yeah. And I think having somebody that you can rely on to keep you accountable is invaluable.
Yeah.
And if you can have a coach, then that's even better, because they're really going to keep you motivated as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think accountability is huge in there. Yeah, and I think you and I keep each other accountable on different things. And I think the lovely thing about coaching is that you can, with your clients, you can see things that they can't see, and you can reflect back to them. And I think that's where there's an added value with coaching. You're not just accountable, you're not just being motivated, but somebody's kind of going, oh, when you're saying those words, you're covering your mouth. What's that about? Oh, I didn't know I was doing that. And I did that with a client, and she said it's because I don't believe the words that are coming out of my mouth. So I'm trying to cover them, and you're kind of like, oh, wow. So yeah, I think that's that
can become a mirror. Yes.
A very, very, very clear mirror. Yeah.
And what a gift that is.
Absolutely.
Because those moments when we can have a mirror of what the truth is are huge.
Yeah, for sure.
What's been the biggest moment when you've had somebody hold a mirror to you and you've been able to see a truth that you just weren't seeing?
Interestingly, it was in some training, and they asked us to, I have absolutely no creative skills on an artistic level. So they said, oh, we're going to draw a picture. So my heart sank. I was like, oh. And the person running the course could obviously see my heart sank. She said, don't worry, it can be as basic as you like. So we had to draw a picture of ourselves as we saw ourselves in that moment. So I did the stick man, little stick person, basically circle, body, leg, that's it, and arms. And then they said, on the next page, we'd like you to draw yourself as your potential. What is your potential? And I drew this massive stick person. So my first stick person was small, insignificant. My next person was massive, and it was just one of those moments where you kind of go, oh, okay, I know I've got all this potential. Why am I not releasing it? It was a massive exercise for me.
And how long ago was that?
Oh, that was a long time ago. Maybe like 2010, maybe. But such a simple exercise. So, same question back to you. When was there a mirror held up that was a defining moment?
I think when I was doing my person-centered therapy, we had like the head counselor who was like, so not only was she in charge of the whole college, but she was a really experienced counselor. And she turned around to me and she said, is the reason why you want to always rescue others because you wish someone had rescued you? Oh God. And I found that to be it hit quite deep. And I realized that a role that I used to be very comfortable playing was rescuing other people, even if they didn't ask for it. Like I was constantly looking to try to help others, rescue others. That was the role I played. And that was a role that I felt familiar with, comfortable, safe. But I think it was obviously creating a dynamic all the time of me giving a lot of energy and not necessarily, that gave me energy too, to give energy.
Yeah.
But
it blocks people from giving you anything back.
Exactly. Because I only thought I was valuable if I was rescuing someone. And if I wasn't rescuing someone, what value did I have?
So were you aware, before she said that, were you aware that you were a rescuer?
I was beginning to become aware, because when we did our training, we looked at like victim, rescuer, and perpetrator.
Yeah.
So we looked at those three roles, and I really saw myself as this role of a rescuer, stepping from that to an empowered coach.
So so you realize that you're a rescuer. So what's the journey to not being a rescuer? What's the journey to adult?
What's the journey?
Yeah.
To go from the rescuer.
Yeah, because that's you're really comfortable in that role. You know how to do that role. You know, you've got lots of experience of it going really well. So it's frightening to go outside of that role.
Yeah.
And all your validation is based on being a rescuer. So how do you move from that?
Slowly, but looking at who you're drawn to and being honest with yourself about why you're drawn to them. Really embodying the truth of, this isn't my role anymore. And really embodying the truth of, it's not my job to rescue others. They can only rescue themselves. So slowly embodying it. So for me, it's not necessarily been a doing thing, but a embodiment.
Okay.
Embodying this shift in energy, because there's a shift in your body when you go from needing to rescue to knowing that you're already inherently valuable.
Yeah.
Just because you exist, and there's nothing that you have to do to be worthy.
That's a massive shift. There's a massive shift.
There's times I could get drawn in, because there's times I might come across someone and I notice that I want to jump in, but then I have to be truthful with myself. Am I doing this because it's still a tiny bit familiar? And I have to be honest with myself about, what am I hoping to get from this? Am I just seeking validation?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because I think as a parent, as a mother, your role is often as the rescuer. Well, you know, you're a giver. As a parent, as a mother, you're a giver. So it's, yeah, I can see that's
a shift in that
area. Yeah.
Now I see myself with the children as a guide.
Yeah.
I'm here to walk alongside life with them, but as I have soul contracts, they have soul contracts. So I don't know what they signed up for.
Yep.
And to be honest, in a way, that's beyond my control.
Yeah, it's not your business.
It's not my business. Whatever they signed up for before they came into this world and incarnated and chose me to be their mum, they already signed up. So my job is to just give them love, accept them, and then I think that's already a huge gift. Safety, love, and acceptance are, for me, I think, everything. And beyond that,
yeah, absolutely,
they're just bonuses.
So where are you now? So you're not a rescuer anymore. So how would you describe yourself now?
From rescuer, the next step, so how you transcend that, is going from that to empowered coach.
Okay.
So actually in the model that they give, from rescuer to empowered coach, which means you can be alongside people, you can ask them questions, but you're never rescuing them.
Yeah.
They've always got the tools to rescue themselves, and if not, they will find the tools when they're ready to rescue themselves.
Is there anything else you want to cover?
When you look at your role that you played, I'd say before you became more conscious, you were victim, persecutor, or rescuer?
I'm not sure that I would have defined myself by those particular three categories, but I certainly I read Dale Carnegie's book years and years and years and years ago, How to Win Friends and Influence People, something like that.
Yeah.
And he always said about asking questions. People think you're the most interesting person in the room if you ask them questions. So I used to hide myself behind asking people questions. Now, of course, in the job that I do, that's a phenomenal part of the job, and I am naturally very curious. I love to understand people and how did they get where they are and why did they think that. Did become apparent that if I was in a situation that I was uncomfortable, that would be my go-to mechanism, would be to ask questions. And there's a difference between asking questions because you're uncomfortable or asking questions because you're curious, you're genuinely interested in what they have to say.
Well, one's from a state of survival.
One is fear-based and one is love-based.
There we go.
Yeah. And so that would have been I don't know how you would define that, but it was definitely my defense mechanism, was to just ask. And I was lucky because I could get, for whatever reasons, I could generally get away with it, because actually I do have an inherent curiosity, but I'm very aware that that was the shield I put on when I was uncomfortable or when I was shy or whenever, if I was in a situation I wasn't enjoying, I would ask.
Thank you for joining me today Where the Soul Speaks. It's been very enlightening. I've learned more about you and I've enjoyed that, and I enjoy all our conversations, and I hope everyone else enjoyed it too. So thank you for joining us today on Where the Soul Speaks, and I look forward to hearing from you next time.
Thank you.